Hi everyone, you're welcome back to this Convo podcast. Thank you for I think I need to change my intro actually. Hello everyone, you're welcome back to did I say this Convo podcast? Oh my god. Since I can't see my Bible and jotter in front of me, my head just went to this Convo podcast. Anyways, that's also just an information to say that I have a podcast called Discover Podcast. But anyways, let's get right into what we're here to do today. Hi everyone, you're welcome to Tinola Live. Thank you for coming back here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you so much for all my very beautiful and wonderful subscribers, whoever you are. Even though I might not know you, you're amazing. Trust me, you are. Thank you so much for always being here. So, well, today, as you can see, I have my Bible and I have my daughter in front of me. You know that when I did the introduction of what Tinola Live is going to be about, it's tagged under three things, and which is life, living, and God. So this is going to be the first video on the aspect of God, and we said that anything that has to do with God has to do with teachings and everything. So I dropped a question tag on Instagram, and I asked for people to suggest, the next topic I should talk, or something I should talk about on the next episode. And the first answer that I got is to talk about waiting on God. So that is what I am here to talk to you about today. So we're here to talk about waiting on God, and I pray in the name of Jesus that I try as much as possible to make this simple and short. Amen. Glory be to God. All right, so let's get into it. I know that when we talk about waiting on God, that's like a topic, and that's like a process that nobody is going to escape as long as you keep working with God. You would always have to wait upon the Lord on a particular thing. So I don't know who you are, wherever you are, at whatever point you are. Maybe you've been waiting on God on a particular thing, you've been praying about something. God has given you a promise about a particular thing, maybe your business, your career, your marital life and everything, and it seems as if this thing is not coming, right? Even though God has told you that it is coming, but yet it doesn't seem as if it's coming. And maybe you've heard, waiting on God, learning how to wait on God, and you're like, this waiting is not easy. Let's just actually say that waiting on God is not easy. For me, I still have a particular thing that I'm still waiting on God for, and which is my career, which is my photography. I've been into photography for a very long time, and one of the reasons why I still keep on the journey is because I know why I got on the journey, and I know what God has actually told me concerning this aspect of my life. So no matter how tough it may look like right now, I'm still waiting on God, because I know that I've received a promise. But sometimes I'm like, God, when will this thing happen, right? So we want to talk about waiting on God, and generally how to wait on God. I know you might have heard someone would have thought about how to wait upon God and everything. So this might be an additional knowledge for you. But anyways, let's get right into it. So while I was thinking about this topic, one of the analogies that came into my head, the analogy that came to me is the analogy of pregnancy. Right, I've not been pregnant before. I don't have a child. And I know that maybe guys are listening to this and are wondering, pregnancy, really. But I'm just going to take us through. I'm not trying to explain what pregnancy is all about, but I just want to take us through the process of it, because that was the analogy the Holy Spirit gave to me, and I think it is actually perfect for whatever I want to say. So, well, let's talk about pregnancy. You know that when you want to have a child, or you get pregnant as a woman, when a woman gets pregnant, right? No matter how, the baby, so to say, let's just assume that the baby already knows, and, because the baby kicks and responds definitely at a particular trimester, they begin to respond to things that you do and everything. So no matter how eager that baby is to get outside into the world, like, I just want to leave this space, I just want to leave this womb, the baby still has to go through the process of being in the womb for 9 months, being in the womb for 36 weeks, because there is a reason why it has to be complete 36 weeks, or else that baby is going to be born prematurely, right? And on the mother's, as the mother or the parent side, no matter how much the mother, when one of the things that you experience is the joy of motherhood, you're just waiting, you're anticipating to see your child, and no matter how much you want to, like, oh my God, I can't wait to hold my baby in my hands, you still have to wait through the 36 weeks, no matter how much of discomfort that you feel, because there are times that you say that, can this baby just come out already, right? No matter how much of a discomfort you feel, no matter how much you wish that you could, just take out the you could go to the hospital and bring out the baby from the womb and everything. Because if you understand that this baby has not, gone through the process of 36 weeks, yes, I'm right, 36 weeks, you will still persevere, because you know what the effect of giving birth to this baby before its time, you know the effect is going to have on the child. And because you love that child so much, and because you want a perfect and a beautiful baby, you would wait, no matter how much of a discomfort that you feel. You won't go and take out the baby out of the womb before it's time, before it is formed, right? And also, a baby that is being born prematurely still has the chance, maybe something happened and the baby came out before 36 weeks and the baby is born prematurely, not well formed. The baby still has the chance of survival if the baby is being subjected to medical procedure, that is being put in an incubator for that child to still be able to go through the process that is supposed to actually go through in the womb, right? So the baby still has a chance of survival, but it depends on you whether the baby might not be able to say how it feels being in an incubator, but I know that it is not an easy process. It's not an easy thing, right? For the baby. The baby feels discomfort. And also the parent, it is not an easy thing. But you understand. You wouldn't, because no, I can't watch my baby go through this and all of that. But because you know that, okay, this baby has this is the only way this baby can survive, right? This baby can survive. I have to allow this baby to go through this. So it's either you allow the child to go through the process, through medical procedure, right? Or you take away the chance of survival of the child, right? But no matter what, as long as you choose survival, you choose having the baby the way it's meant to be, right? No matter which aspect that you choose, that child has to go through the complete process for you to have a well-formed baby, right? And that is simply like the process of waiting on the Lord also for us as Christians. So let's explain each of this, this process. So the first aspect is the conceiving part, when you conceive a child. So the moment a woman conceives and certified that, you are tested and, proven that, you're pregnant, you're so weeks pregnant, from that moment, you know that you already have what we call the promise. So, and that is it in, with God also. God gives you a promise and say you are going to be this. Let's look at Abraham, our father of faith. Abraham was given a promise. And he still had to wait, I think, is it 25 years or how many years after, right, before he could have, Isaac. God told Abraham that, look over the stars and everything. Can you count the stars in the sky and everything? That's how numerous your descendant is going to be, right? And God told him that he's going to have a child, though they are beyond age of having a child, right? But God gave him a promise, and that is the first part. That is the part of conceiving. From the moment you conceive, you receive a word from the Lord, right? You receive a word from the Lord. And you can't say you're waiting on the Lord if you have not received a word from him. So the situation that you're going through right now that is seem as if it's not it's not working out. One of the first thing is, have you received the word of the Lord concerning that situation? What has God told you concerning that situation, right? What has God told you concerning that situation? Then the next thing is the process of the pregnancy, right? And that is, you shall have a baby, and it starts with growth, from egg, and it keeps growing, fetus keeps developing everything that the baby has to develop, right, before it becomes a baby, right? From the point of conceiving, it doesn't just become a well-formed baby from the point of conceiving, but it starts from a process. So every word of the Lord, right? There are some certain word or some certain promise that God will give to you, that it has to go through the process. Though God gives you the bigger picture and tells you you're going to have a baby, right? You get pregnant and it says you're going to have a baby, but that baby does not become well formed from the moment of conceiving, from the point of conceiving. It has to go through a process of growing from stage to stage, and the longer it stays, the stronger the baby becomes, right? Then the next step is what I call it hardship, because I really can't find any other word, but it is no matter the pregnancy. I'm not sure any pregnancy just goes smoothly and it's all perfect and you're just lounging when you're pregnant for the whole 9 months. I don't think anybody has ever experienced that before, right? You will know that when you're pregnant, you go through different kind of things, different discomforts here and there. You start nauseating, and some people experience the signs differs with every woman and everything. So you start experiencing some very tough times that it is not easy on you. Is it backache? Is it leg ache? Is it leg pain, or whatever that you're going to experience? And that's the same thing about the word of about the promise that God has given to us. First of all, let's read the book of Mark chapter 4, verse 17 to 19. I'm reading from the CSB version, which is called the Christian Standard Bible version. So Mark 4, chapter 17 to 19. This is the parable of the sower, right? And where Jesus Christ was explaining what it means, what the parable of the sower means. So verse 17, it says, but they have no root. Okay, let's read from verse 16. It says, and others are like seed sown on rocky ground. When they hear the word, immediately they receive it with joy. But they have no root. They are short-lived. When distress or persecution comes because of the word, they immediately fall away. Let's note something. It says, when distress or persecution comes because of the word that has been planted, right? They immediately fall away. It says others are like seed sown among thorns. These are the ones who hear the word, but the worries of this age, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires for other things enter in and choke the word. It becomes unfruitful. So when a promise comes from the Lord, it comes with because of the word, because of the promise, right? It says that distress or persecution comes because of the word that the Lord has sown into your life, because of the promise that God has given into your life. Remember Jesus Christ. When Jesus Christ, there was a prophecy on Jesus Christ, right? About the birth of Jesus Christ. And the moment that, the king Herod realized that those promises coming to pass, what happened? He made a decree to find a way of killing Jesus when he couldn't, when he couldn't get Jesus Christ because the angel had already won the spirit and they had already moved, right? He killed so many male child, right? So those are like the same experience, right? We also go through when the promise of God comes. So sometimes it looks as if, God has given you a word, you're going to be great, you're going to be this, no matter the kind of word that God has given you. But it looks as if everything is tough. It is part of the process. Just like a pregnant woman, no matter as much as, the mother is joyful that, oh my God, I'm having a baby and everything. there is, because of the baby, because there is something being implanted in that woman, because the woman's body is going through a process of change, because the woman's body is because there is something growing in her, right? There is something developing in her. Our body begins to react, giving her different form of hardship. So sometimes we also face this kind of hardship. And the first set of hardship from this Mark chapter 4, that says that distress or persecution comes because of the word. This one affects our faith. But the one in verse 18 that says that when the sown among thorns, these are the ones who hear the word, but the worries of the age, the deceitfulness of wealth, and the desires of other things enter in and choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. Those are the external influence that affect us, right? And those are the things that affect our heart, right? Those are the things that affect our heart. So one affects the faith, internal, and one affects, our one is through the heart. One is through the heart. Worries, worries and deceitfulness and everything affects the heart, right? Desires comes from the heart. Worries, desires, and all of that comes from the heart, right? So those are the things that affect our heart. So every person would go through, this tough time, this tough process. Even though God has given you a promise, it looks as if everything is becoming tough and hard. Well, so that's another process. And when a mother is going through this hard time, this process of, our body changing, she does all it takes. She does all it takes to make sure that she protects this baby. She protects this baby that is being formed. And that is why, in the hospital, they tell her to take some particular nutrients, tell her to eat some particular food. They give her drugs, medication to take throughout a pregnancy period, because there are some things, because there are processes, there are things that she needs to do to guard the growth of this child. So also for us, there are processes that we need to do. There are things that we need to do to guard the word that the Lord has given to us, even in these tough and hard times, right? Then another process is the mother in waiting herself. The process the mother, the mother in waiting herself, the process she goes through. So no mother sits, without doing nothing in preparation for the coming of the child, right? If you have someone that, the person is aware that she's pregnant and the parents decide not to buy anything, right? What will you call them? You call them irresponsible, right? So every mother in waiting, or every parent in waiting for the arrival of the child, one thing they do is to prepare for the coming of the child. They don't wait when the child comes before they start preparing. They start preparing from the beginning. A mother begins to make lists. She begins to ask questions. She begins to learn. She begins to read. Father begins to read. Everybody begins to read about the coming, preparing for the coming of the child, getting their crib, getting, everything that this child is going to need, from the clothes. They don't wait till when the child comes, because when the child comes, the child can come at any point in time. They are ready. They are prepared for the arrival of this child, right? They are prepared for the arrival of this child. So also, you can't say that the Lord has given you a word, you are expecting something from the Lord, you are expecting this promise, the fulfillment of the promise, and you're not doing anything in preparation. You're not doing anything to get ready for that which the Lord has promised you, right? So we, as a mother in waiting, as someone who is waiting for the promise of the Lord, one thing that we do is we prepare. And one of the things that keeps the mother going, is the assurance of the baby that is coming at the end of this whole process. So there is a joy that she carries, the joy that she knows that she's going to hold her child very soon, keeps her going even through every of the tough season, right? So we also, as someone who is waiting, we prepare for that which we are coming, for that which we are expecting. We prepare for that which we are expecting, and we wait in joy. We reassure ourselves of that which the Lord has promised, and it helps us. It gives us strength. It supplies strength to us for us to keep waiting even when the journey is not easy. Then the last process is the labor pangs. When a mother is about to give birth, she experiences the most excruciating pain, when she's in labor. And she experiences pain, she experiences discomfort, at the point when she is, she's trying to conceive. And sometimes when our delivery is close, we experience like the toughest time when our delivery is close, right? But one thing that you don't do is to give up. A mother perseveres because she knows that there is a joy that waits for her after she births this child. So no matter the pain and the discomfort she's going through at that particular point in time, she perseveres. She doesn't give up. And so also for us, when we're waiting upon the Lord, it might become tough, because sometimes, when we look at the story of the Israelites when they were about to leave Egypt, when Moses came and the deliverance told Pharaoh that God said, let my people go and everything, one thing that Pharaoh did was to intensify. The moment that Pharaoh knew that these people wants to get deliverance, he intensified the work that they did. And at that point in time, they all cried to God like, no, why has the Lord done this? And Moses even went back to God and said, you promised your people deliverance. Why haven't you delivered them? Right? But God had to take them through this process. God had to take them through this process, because the deliverance would not actually come just like that, or the deliverance will not actually come just like that. It has to go through. The devil would always try everything in his power to make sure that it makes this, the journey not easy or tough, or to hinder that which God wants to bring to pass in your life, right? So what do we do while waiting? Let's just step it down to, points and things to do while waiting. Now, one thing is, nobody can tell you this is how your waiting period is going to go. No pregnant woman knows, this is how the whole 9 months of this child is going to be like. And even after she gives birth to a child, the next child she has, that she does not even know how it's going to look like also, because the process differs, because they are different children, right? So nobody can tell you how your waiting period is going to go, but there are principles that can help us to help us in this our waiting period. And the first thing that you need to learn to do when you're waiting on the Lord is to renew your strength. It's to renew the strength of your faith. Your faith would always be attacked. In the access or the key, the evidence that you have to lay claim to that which the Lord has promised you is your faith. And because the devil knows that this faith that we have is our key to get everything that God has promised us, that God has given to us, to have access to it, it would always attack your faith. So one thing that you need to do, even while you are protecting your faith, is to renew the strength of your faith. And that is through the word. You can't wait on the Lord without the word of the Lord. You can't wait on the Lord without feeding yourself on the word of the Lord, right? Feeding yourself on the word of the Lord. You have to reassure yourself. You have to remind yourself of that which God can do, the possibility of God, knowing that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you could ask and think of, knowing that He is a God that is not a man. God is not a man that would lie or that would fail. Knowing that He is the one who owns all things, all power, and in His hands. Knowing that this God would never let you down, neither forsake you. Knowing that He is a Father, and when you ask for a fish from Him, He will never give you a stone or give you a snake, right? Because the Lord cares for you, and He is able to do all that we ask of Him, and even exceedingly abundantly above all of that. So in the times when our faith is being attacked, your faith being attacked is the capacity of your understanding of the capacity of God in your life in that situation being attacked. Now, there was something I saw the day I was studying Mark. Let me see. Okay. Okay, Jesus walking on water. Yep. So, Mark chapter 6, verse 51. So it says that was after Jesus walked on water. There were two miracles that Jesus did: the feeding of the 5,000 and Jesus walking on water. And it says that then He got into, I will read from 51 to 52. It says, then He got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased. They were completely astounded because they had not understood about the loaves. Instead, their hearts were hardened, right? I think there is a translation that says that they had doubts because they had not understood that the Lord, the power and like the oh God, I really want to remember this translation. It says that because, in short, that they had doubts in their heart because they had not yet understand or understood that God is able, like God has power over all things to do that which. So when they saw that Jesus Christ, fed 5,000, walked on water, it says that they were completely astounded because they had not understood about the loaves. It's not really about is the process of what happened with the loaves. Instead, their hearts were hardened, right? Their hearts were hardened. Doubts came into their heart, and that is one of the ways that the devil attacks your heart or attacks your faith, is to bring doubts, into your heart. And once doubt comes in, it is you can't receive what you are waiting on God for when doubt comes in. So one thing you need to do is to learn to guard your faith and renew the strength of your faith. So when you are weak, you go back to the word. You go back to the word of the Lord and renew the strength. It says that faith comes by hearing, hearing the word of the Lord. So how do you renew your strength? How does faith comes? Does faith become stronger? By hearing the word of the Lord. So sit with the word of the Lord in your waiting season. Then another thing to do is to pray. You have to learn to persist in prayer, right? Prayer strengthens us in a way because for me, I see prayer as a point where I get to surrender myself before God. Prayer is that time that is not just me talking to God and everything. It's that time that I take myself before God and I just put myself in front of you, like, God, I can't do this. Help me. I pray ahead of seasons. I pray ahead of situations through prayer. Now, there is something in Daniel chapter, I think Daniel chapter 6 or thereabout. Let me search for it. No, Daniel chapter 10. So this was, I'm just going to pick out some verses that I'm going to read. This was when Daniel was praying in prayer, and the prince of Persia stood in the angel's way of bringing the prayers to stood in the angel's way of bringing the answers to Daniel's prayer. So let me read from verse 2, Daniel chapter 10 from verse 2 to verse 4. Then I'm going to read from verse 12 to verse 13. It says, in those days, I, Daniel, was mourning for 3 full weeks. I didn't eat any rich food. No meat or wine entered my mouth. And I didn't put any oil on my body until the 3 weeks were over. On the 24th day of the first month, right, as I was standing on the bank of the great river, the Tigris, and so on. Then to verse 12, it says, don't be afraid, Daniel. He said to me, for from the first day that you proposed to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your prayers were heard, and I have come because of your prayers. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia opposed me for 21 days, right? Opposed me for 21 days. 3 weeks is actually 3 weeks. If you count 3 weeks, 3 weeks is 21 days. So Daniel was praying for 21 days. He stopped praying after 21 days, after the 3 weeks was completed. And it was on the 24th day. He was actually not praying on the 24th day. He said he was standing by the bank of the river. Then he had a vision. On that 24th day. He wasn't praying. So, but the time that Daniel prayed was for 21 days. And when the angel came and brought the word of the Lord to him, the angel said that, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia opposed me for 21 days. So Daniel didn't realize what was happening, in the spirit, but the Holy Spirit, the Spirit guided him to help him to pray. I believe that if Daniel was here, we would have asked him what happened. How did he know he was supposed to stop after 3 weeks, right? How did he know he was supposed to stop after 3 weeks? But it was from what the evidence or from the testimony of the angel and the thing that Daniel did, it was evident that Daniel had to pray through. And the moment after 21 days, when the angel got access, when the angel was able to overcome or to win over the prince of Persia that stood in his way, that was when Daniel stopped praying. So one thing you have to learn to do is to pray, and pray until you get a release in your spirit. Persist in prayer. There is a difference between persistence and repetition, right? There's a difference between persistence and repetition. And persistence does not mean that you are faithless about the prayers that you are praying, or because, doesn't mean that you pray the prayers of faith. Sometimes we're going to talk about prayers and all of that, but you have to learn to persist in prayer. Not because you are doubting that God has not heard the prayer that you prayed yesterday, but because you are praying through that situation, because you're waiting on God till you see it happen. So you have to learn to pray in your waiting season. Then another thing is to imbibe the heart of patience. You can't wait anyhow on the Lord. You have to wait through patience. You have to learn to wait through patience, right? You can't wait rushing. You can't wait grumbling. You can't wait complaining. You wait on the Lord with patience, knowing that He is able. He is going to bring to pass everything that He has said concerning you, every promise that the Lord has said concerning you. So through patience, when you learn to wait in patience, that's how character is formed. Because through patience, you are able to go through everything that God has proposed for that journey. You are able to go through it. You are able to endure it, and you're able to wait till the end till you receive that promise. Then the last thing is to constantly to look at that which the Lord has promised you, right? And the joy you will experience when you receive it. One thing you need to do is to always bring back the word of the Lord to you. And one thing God also does to help us is to reassure us of the word that He has said to us. God would always reassure you. He will always speak to you. The Bible says that the Lord has spoken once, twice have I heard. Twice have I heard is the Lord has decreed that promise once. Right, He has decreed that promise once, but He keeps bringing things that confirms that which He has said concerning that He has said to you. So that is once has the Lord spoken, twice have I heard. So God will consistently, if you keep studying the word, if you keep praying, it will consistently give you reassurance, of that word that He has said to you, that promise that He has given to you. So those are the steps that I can give to you on how to wait, right? Waiting might not be easy, but knowing that the Lord who has given you a promise will never fail, and knowing that there is a joy thereof, right? That should give you strength to keep going through it. Because one thing that keeps me going is that I know that this process might not be easy, but I know that it is for a particular purpose. Because no matter what, if you abort the process, you have an option. You would either go through, God will still give you the grace to still take that thing through the process, that it may be well formed, through a process that it may be well formed, but that process might not be easy, or you abort the survival of that promise. So you have two options. So it's either you allow this promise to go through the process that God wanted to go through, the growing process, and allow it to be delivered to you when the Lord wants it to be delivered to you, or you find a way of aborting the process. But you should know that when you abort the process, if you want that promise to survive, it still has to go through the process. And the process that it might go through might not even be easier than the way that the Lord is taking you through, or you actually let it go and that promise dies, right? So today we have to know that, most importantly, one thing that I will always tell people that are waiting on the Lord, and I'm also saying to myself, is to reassure you that whatever the Lord has said to you, whatever promise the Lord has given to you, the Lord will definitely bring it to pass. That should be the anchor of your faith, knowing that the Lord will never fail you. The Lord will never put you to shame. The Lord will never forsake you, will never leave you, neither forsake you. He is right there with you, even when you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, right? He is always right there with us. He is working with us, even though we might have to go through the process of pain, the uneasy moments or seasons. But know that the Lord will never abandon you. And you should also renew your strength from this assurance that the Lord is always there with you, and he that has promised will surely bring it to pass. Thank you so much for listening. I know that this is actually very longer than what we usually do, but anyways, thank you so much for listening. God bless you. If you're watching to this end, God bless you, and keep waiting upon the Lord. And when you get your testimony, please share your story, share your process. There is somebody that needs this process that you're going through. So please keep going through it. Keep pushing, because the Lord would actually never fail you, and that which you're waiting on the Lord for would definitely come to pass. And when it comes to pass, you will know that it is worth it. The process is worth it. A mother, when the mother carries her child, right, she knows that whatever she has gone through, she actually literally forgets everything that she has gone through, because she remembers, and when she sees the face of the child, she says that this is worth it. The process, the pain, the tough time, the 9 months is worth it, just for me to see this promise, just for me to see this baby. Thank you so much. God bless you. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you share. God bless you, and take care.